My name is Hanna, and I'm excited to be here tonight to talk to you about my dissertation. And thank you all for coming. And thanks, Max, for introduction. And yeah, I've conducted this research with my supervisor, Leyla the Amicis. Yeah, so the war in Ukraine was started in 2014 in the east and south parts of the country. However, the full-scale invasion was in February 2022. The current war in Ukraine has changed the lives of millions of people, and the mental health consequences of war are widely known, unfortunately. And the Ukrainian people have witnessed the large-scale destruction of their country's infrastructure and land. Ukrainians have experienced numerous air alarms, bombardments, and air attacks, and some areas of Ukraine, unfortunately, are completely destroyed and unable to support normal life. And thousands of civilians were killed, including children. And some Ukrainians have hidden in basements without basic needs to protect their and their children's lives. And some Ukrainians, especially women, were forced to make the difficult decision to leave their husbands and flew from Ukraine with their children. Because men between the ages 18 and 60 have been mandated to stay in Ukraine due to military law, with a few exclusions. So this has been the largest displacement of people in Europe since the Second World War. And Ukrainian people have tried to find a safe place in the UK and particularly in Scotland, and you can see statistics in this slide. And also the UK provided different types of visas, but the most common one is the Homes for Ukrainian Sponsorship Scheme, which provides a temporary residence permit for 3 years to Ukrainians who applied before February 2024. After that, it was replaced by Ukraine Permission Extension Scheme, which provides temporary residence permit for 18 months. And the UK government said that after these 18 months, Ukrainians can apply for another 24 months. So this permit includes the right to claim benefits, the right to work, access to a health system, educational system, and housing services as well. Yeah. So I lost my mouse. So there are some studies that investigate changes in parenting styles in refugees around the world. So there is some strong evidence that shows that parenting styles are changed by the experience of war. So parents' insecurity, uncertainty, constant feeling of fear of their children's lives influence parents' behavior and lead to possible changes in parenting styles. As a result, children may receive decreasing levels of emotional support and self-care from their parents or caregivers. And the mixed method systematic review and meta-analysis in a study by Eltanomly investigated parenting in a large number of participants, but from Palestine and Israel. So their findings indicated that parents changed their parenting styles in the context of forced displacement, so becoming less warm, more harsh, and less consistent. However, this study did not include Ukrainian refugees. So there are some studies about Ukrainian refugees. For example, a study about Ukrainian refugees who were relocated to Israel. There is strong correlation between parents and children PTSD rates and overall psychological distress in Ukrainian families, which lead to harsher parenting. Also, the study was conducted in the US. It shows that Ukrainian refugees experience different challenges which affect their mental health, for example, like language barriers, gender role conflict around employment, and everyday life issues. Also was another study that was conducted in Germany, Poland, and the UK. So it was about highly uncertain Ukrainian refugees' plans about their school children. And the two-thirds of participants reported that their children continue to study remotely in Ukrainian schools and also attend local schools. However, the literature on the experiences of Ukrainian parents in Scotland is lacking. So that is why my current study aims to find out what factors do Ukrainian parents see as having affecting their parenting style before, during, and after their forced displacement due to the invasion of Ukraine, if any, and what changes do parents report in their parenting styles after moving to Scotland. What contextual and psychosocial factors influence Ukrainian parents' perception of their family's integration in Scotland? And how do Ukrainian parents and their children talk about war, if they talk about war and other dramatic events after their forced migration from Ukraine? So the theoretical background of this study is mostly Baumrind theory, parenting style theory, which include different styles of parenting based on combination of two key dimensions of parenting. So it's about parental responsiveness and parental demandingness. And so according to Baumrind, different styles of parenting draw on the, yes, I said before, draw on these two combinations. So parental responsiveness refers to parental warmth and support, and whereas parental demandingness includes behavioral control. So differences in the relative dominance of each of these dimensions reflect how parents balance their children's needs for both boundaries and nutrients. And so Baumrind described four categories, like per parenting style. Is authoritative, where it's high demandingness and high responsiveness. So that means like high support and high control. Authoritarian, which means that it's high control and low support. Permissive, where it's low demandingness, so low control and high responsiveness. And neglectful, where it's low control and low support. So Baumrind argues that the authoritative parenting style is a positive approach for parenting, which is characterized by high levels of responsiveness and high levels of demandingness. However, Smetana found that parenting varies across different domains of a child's life. So it could be, for example, moral or personal issues, and parents might be authoritative in one area, so for example, in safety, but more permissive in another. It could be like personal choice of finding activities. So this approach provides a more nuanced understanding than broad global styles alone. And so this study, as Mark said before, we conducted 10 interviews, semi-structured interviews with 10 participants, 4 men and 6 women, age range between 37 and 47. So they were interviewed in Ukrainian language, and all interviews were online. The participants were recruited via dedicated English language classes for displaced Ukrainians, via social media and snowball sampling. And as you can see, this is a table where you can see my participants, and also you can see how many children they have and age of their children. So basically it was children aged from 10 to 17. I use thematic analysis for analyzing data using inductive and deductive approach. And also I was in an insider position with the participants being the same ethnicity and the same nationality. Also, I share the experience being a parent who flew Ukraine with a 5-year-old son, started my life basically from this scratch in a new country. So this was beneficial, but also I understood that my shared experience might lead to possible bias. So that is why I reflected back on each interview to ensure that the meaning of participants' experience and thoughts did not project my own ones. And One interview was translated in English and translated back by Dr. Evgenia Dragomanova for accuracy, and my supervisor, Leyla de Amicis, checked coding of this interview. So again, as Mark mentioned, there are three themes. Each theme has sub-themes. So the first one is about enduring principle, about the nature of authoritative parenting style. It's about quantity versus qualitative communication. It's about different domains of control versus independence. The second theme is about challenges in parent-child relationship due to the war and for displacement. The first sub-theme is parents' transit lives and effects on children. And the second sub-theme is about children's displaced dreams and impact on parents. And the third is about exploring invasion with children, how parents talk with children about the war. And the third theme is basically about Scotland, how Scottish government, Scottish people help parents and their children to settle in. So the Scottish solidarity and empathy, and also about children's future within the Scottish educational system. And now I would like to tell you more in details about every theme. So the first theme was about authoritative parenting style, and the first sub-theme was about quantity versus quality of communication. So participants mentioned that they spent less time here with their children due to, parents busy trying to find a job, trying to maintain their own life, try to learn English. But also it was interesting that they said that the quality of their communication is higher than it was in Ukraine. And they also share their experience that they realize that they should appreciate every minute of their lives with their children after the war. And the second sub-theme is about different domains of control versus the independence. So that means that despite the trusting relationship observed between Ukrainian parents and their children, participants also said that their children needed some amount of parental control, particularly when they're living in different unfamiliar environments. And also, most participants shared one key goal in their parenting style. It was to raise an individual who is able to not only survive without parents, but also be a happy, independent person with critical thinking skills. So the second theme is about challenges in parent-child relationships. So the first sub-theme is about parents, what they experience, about their challenges. And so they experience different barriers, but the main one is lack of English, uncertainty of their future, which negatively impacted participants' well-being and integration. However, all participants realized that their mental health had a direct impact on the children's lives. If children did not feel confident that their parents were able to stand on their own 2 feet, this was translated into insecurities in the child as well. The second sub-theme is about children's difficulties that children experience. So participants reported that their children had difficulties with their integration when they initially came to Scotland. So this presented as social challenges such as finding friends, understanding cultural cues, and the language. Children also influenced parents' adaptation in Scotland, because if children did not have issues in school or with friends, parents could focus more on building their own lives. But obviously, if they have, they need to spend more time and give more support to their children. And the third sub-theme is about exploring innovation with children. So this is it's also interesting finding that all participants said that their children know that there is a war. They know that people dying in Ukraine, but then they divided in 2 groups. One of them said that, okay, well, we need to discuss more war. We need to have more conversation about this. And others said, like, well, no, actually, we don't need to discuss it in detail. That it's enough for them just to know that there is war. And as you can see, quote here. So this is Bogdan, who is a former soldier. So he said that that's enough for him, for them just to understand that there is a war, but we don't need to discuss it in detail. And the last theme is about Scotland. So the first sub-theme was basically Scotland was chosen for location by participants due to high levels of governmental and local support, English language, and a good educational system. All participants experienced fear of relocation to unknown country, but knowing that governments give support, knowing that local people provide support, makes them feel more confident to travel here. And all participants were really grateful for all support that they received. And the second sub-theme is about Scottish educational system. So it's interesting because it's very different to Ukrainian system. So children felt, participants reported that children felt happier in local schools here in Scotland. They had fewer lessons and more opportunities to express themselves. And Scottish schools supported children in every step, almost always without parents' involvement, which is better for both children and parents. Conversely, in the Ukrainian school system, there were high levels of pressure placed on children and parents as well. And as we talk about conclusions, so this unique study demonstrated that parenting styles of Ukrainian parents have experienced small changes, showing a greater value placed on spending time together, encouraging children independence, and expressing warmth following displacement. In line with Barnes' theory and Smetana's, so Ukrainian families in this study favor the authoritative parenting style. However, they can change their parenting approach due to different circumstances. Ukrainian parents experience barriers to integrating in Scotland, and this has an impact on their mental health and consequently affect their children's mental well-being. However, Ukrainian children experience issues related to socialization as well, like finding friends, and this in turn influence their parents' well-being. But Ukrainian parents, despite their different lifestyle from Scottish people, were grateful to locals and the Scottish government for helping Ukrainians to adapt to their new life in Scotland. And as we talk about like future research, it would be interesting to investigate specific experience of Ukrainian parents with younger children and of Ukrainian parents with children. So it may help to build more understanding of the impact of displacement, and also would be beneficial to interview children directly, ensuring that their voices are considered and understood. And extending the study to a larger scale, again, that provide more understanding, like in the UK-wide, what's going on. But also exploring Ukrainian refugees' parenting and acculturation styles. That might be interesting across like different countries and different time points. But also, like if you can see this quote, I think it's very good, shows that why we actually need to do future research. Because like Ola said, like for her daughter, she thinks that she integrated about 50%. And maybe her grandchildren will be able to integrate 100% because we are different. We have different cultures, we have different lifestyles, everything different. And her daughter still doesn't know how to respond appropriately in some situations. So I think that is why it's important to conduct the studies to for understanding how we can help refugees to feel better, to feel to make their lives easier in different countries. That's me. Thank you very much for your attention.